still thinking about transparency, and particularly, well, I don't know, it's just something I thought about when I made my last video about this, when I was talking about drama. Not so much drama on YouTube, or maybe a bit of that, but drama in a theatrical sense, you know what I mean? And how drama kind of relies on a lack of transparency. You know, if everyone can see what everyone else is doing, then there's no opportunity for subterfuge or ulterior motivations or secretive behaviour, or the kind of stuff that leads to dramatic stories and narratives and dramatic characters. So I guess I was just kind of thinking about that. Actually, then we're just swinging around because the view behind me is quite stunning. Look, it's so cold here. Hang on. So yes, so that sort of thing. But anyway, what I kind of said by accident, really, just because I was thinking on my feet, was to do with characters, individual characters, and how you know, certainly in fiction and theatre and film, the most interesting characters are often the ones who don't just have motivations and thoughts and feelings that you can't access. You know, they have that kind of opaqueness, but are also a bit opaque to themselves. They don't fully understand their own motivations. They're a little bit unpredictable to themselves. They have complex. We might say they're complex, you know, because they have this kind of weird labyrinthine psychology with lots of opaque walls separating one bit of their psyche from another. So it's that kind of thing, really, I think. And that led me to think, well, what would it be like if characters weren't like that? Not so much characters in fiction, but possibly, but really ourselves, you know, the characters that we walk around in and that we animate and that we talk to one another through. And this kind of character that I am now and that you are if you're watching this video, you know, what would it be like if those were, you know, if the walls were brought down? I'm not just talking about disclosing secrets or anything like that. I'm talking about something more, I don't know, profound maybe than that. But what would it be like if we were rendered truly transparent? And I think what would happen is we'd just disappear. I think people wouldn't exist, in a sense. Because I've been thinking through it by analogy to just kind of visualization. You know, if I'm looking at my dogs right now, Guy and Phoebe, Guy with the muzzle on, and they exist in all kinds of ways. You know, they exist in a tactile way, they exist in a way that they interrelate to the environment. You know, they're leaving little indentations in the snow as they walk, but they also exist olfactorily. If I get close to them, I can smell them. And of course they exist visually. They're visual animals, primarily, really, given how dominant our visual sense is. But if they were transparent, and I mean truly transparent, if I could see straight through their skin and their hair and their tissues and their organs inside their bodies and their bones and their sinews and their claws and teeth and all that, if all that stuff was completely transparent, effectively they wouldn't exist visually. It would be meaningless to say they're invisible, because invisibility is a kind of nonsense term, I think, really. It just means they don't exist visually. And if you took all away all those properties, you know, if you rendered them olfactorily transparent, you know, so all their smell was transparent, so you could, I don't know, sniff through their smell somehow. That smell effectively it wouldn't exist. And similarly, if they were haptically transparent, so I put my hand on it, just went straight through like a ghost in a movie, effectively they would be haptically transparent. And the same would go with every kind of interaction and sensory engagement I would have. They would, and if you took it all away, effectively they just wouldn't exist. So ultimate transparency means ultimate non-existence. I'll have to think about this thing about interrelating to the environment, but that's a bit different, I think. And I think the same is kind of true of our own psychologies. You know, if you were transparent to me, and I don't mean visually transparent, but kind of psychically transparent, psychologically transparent, so that every thought, emotion, memory, desire, everything that you felt was completely transparent to me. I could see through you, to it and through it. Then effectively you would cease to exist as a separate person. You might cease to exist at all, but you certainly cease to exist as a character. And similarly, you know, if I was transparent to you, I wouldn't exist. You would be seeing through me, just like the air doesn't really exist in a phenomenological sense. You know, I just breathe it. It just doesn't really exist meaningfully. And I think the same would even be true of a kind of self-reflexive way. You know, if I was truly transparent to myself, if I had access to all of my processes and could, you know, seamlessly move into and out of and through my memories and desires and wants and hopes and fears and, you know, all that kind of stuff, really, cognitive processes, I don't think I would have any kind of meaningful self-image. I don't think I would have any character myself. I think I would kind of cease to exist as an experienced being, because that experience is all about opaqueness. It's all about not seeing through and not having access, and seeing the refractions and the reflections and the matte surfaces that lie outside of that, you know, that prevent transparency, really. Yeah, look how gorgeous it is today. I was looking at some of these trees, but not that particular tree, but I was looking at some trees close up earlier on, and that white frosting, which is so gorgeous, if you look at it closely, I'm sure you know this already, it's actually tiny little icicles, between a quarter and half an inch long, millions and millions of tiny little icicles sticking out in all directions from every little branch and twig, and from a distance it just looks like this sugar frosting on it. Isn't that lovely?